Hey everyone, so I'm going to finally make this video. I hoped Riot would actually nerf this strat, which is why I hadn't, but apparently not. So let's dive into why this is the best bot lane that you could actually play. You've probably seen this in a few pro games now. I'm sure you've seen the cardboard Treats meme as well, but Treats actually plays for TSM Academy and he's a friend of mine and he was one of the first to use this in pro play. So he's helping me make this video. A big shout out to him. Thank you very much. He's streaming more now as well, so I put his Twitch in the description and it'll be really good if you could go and show him some love. In case you think I'm joking, by the way, when you look at supports, Sona Taric are two of the best late game choices that you can pick, and I'm showing you their win rate graphs from Lowalytics here, which shows just how good they are late. I can also give you an idea, a rough idea. It's not 100% accurate, but Taric as a bot laner has a 60% win rate apparently at the moment. Sona's page doesn't have her separated from support and bot lane, but it will show you that when building an Archangels first, which is what you do in this strat, it also has almost a 60% win rate. Sona has immense team fighting with her aura spam, shielding, healing, boosting damage, and move speed, and all of that can be used more often with more ultimate ranks giving the cooldown reduction. Taric gives some armor. He has heals, shields, and his ultimate, which will keep people alive and allow them to dive in without taking any damage. But all of his basic abilities, so his Q, W, and E, they scale with the percentage of his health or his armor, which obviously are better as you go into the game. Now, when you pair both of these together, they actually complement each other. They become even better, and your team is basically impossible to outscale and beat late game. You have more healing, more shielding, invulnerability. They won't die, and neither will our damage picks from our other lanes either. Treat says it pretty well, actually. He said it feels really annoying to play against, but it also feels like you just can't really win team fights against them. He actually thinks that is partially true though. If you're coordinated as a team and use that Taric ultimate well with the healing afterwards from Sona especially, it's almost impossible to lose a proper fight. So that is late game, right? But it isn't just late game either. Early game is a very strong lane phase and it's very hard to abuse. You have decent damage, especially from your Sona. Plus you have heals from both of these guys and it makes it really hard to punish them. He did say that Sona is pretty easy to kill if you can focus her down quickly and burst her, but even when you do that and even if you kill Sona, you're not really getting that much out of it. It doesn't help you much when you get to mid game. So how do you play this strat, right? If you want to go and try it at all, if you're with your friends or anything like that, Taric starts with a relic shield and Sona starts with a spell thieves. Taric takes the farm to start with, and this is really important or it's not going to work properly, and this is probably how a lot of people mess it up. The spell thieves line, so the one that Sona has, that was nerfed to stop laners taking it. The actual nerf was killing minions slows your tribute and your gold generation, but that's only until the quest completes. So once Sona has completed her quest then, so gets the 500 gold from the item itself, that stops, and that is when Sona then switches to taking all of the farm instead of Taric. You're still going to earn good money before that early from your spell thieves poke, from Taric's relic shield sharing it, and Eclipsomancy as well, so it's not that big of a problem at all. Now, I've not seen many people do this particular bit, but Treat says it's very, very important, and he actually caps locked the very part of this, so you really should do it, but very important to rush a Catalyst on Taric. This is the item that builds into an Abyssal Mask, and I don't have to upgrade it straight away, but the Catalyst part gives you health and mana, but the passive is godlike on him. It makes him unkillable because of how that passive is working with the mana to health conversion. If you take damage, you're going to get some mana back, which you then use to heal yourself, and you can just repeat that over and over without really going out of mana. We don't think about it very much. It's not a popular item, but you restore health equal to 20% of the mana spent, and that is a lot of healing, plus 15% of damage taken is given back as mana. Sona goes into tier to start with, then Archangels, so she has a really big shield and she doesn't run out of mana either spamming her spells, but after that you get your Lichbane for damage. This is a build path and rune set that Treats and Tactical, the TSM Academy bot lane, use, so you can have a look, and this is probably what you want to start with. So that is your lane phase done and your early phase. A mid game you want to group up with your team and start to basically play Aram. You just have to force big team fights and use Taric and Sona so your team doesn't die at all when they're fighting, and it is very hard to stop what they want to do. They have two massive team fight ultimates. They have crowd control, heals, and shields for that team fight, and that is basically the strat for the rest of the game really. Group together and fight people as a unit. AP Sona is actually very strong on its own anyway. It increases her damage, especially with Lichbane power cores, but also has really good AP ratios on her heals and her auras, so the rest of her kit. The hardest part about this strat is convincing your team to group up and also timing the Taric ultimate correctly and not wasting it or using it too late. Apart from that, it is very hard to play against as the enemy team, but pretty easy to play as a Sona Taric duo, and one of the reasons why I think this is actually pretty bad for the game. So what about if you play against this, right? How do you beat it? Unless you're G2 and you want to funnel, which apparently beats it as well, these are some normal stuff that you can use in solo queue. I personally would actually dodge. I know this doesn't really count. I'm not trying to be funny either. I would take the -3 LP hit for the first dodge of the day, so I don't have to play against this. If you're going to play it though, Executioner's Calling is really good to cut the healing and make it much easier to focus them down. It is not a bad idea to even get this during the lane phase as the AD carry, and Morello for the mid laner. 1-3-1 if you can, or a split push is probably the easiest way to beat this strat though. You won't have to play against to Sona Taric and fight them in a proper team fight, which is what they want to do. And when they aren't grouped up, they aren't really that strong. The issue is that if they're clever or if they know what they're doing, they're going to group as 5 and they're going to dive with the Taric ultimate to be immune to damage, and before you can split push, and you're going to lose anyway. The other thing you can do is to catch them when they're apart, but this is a big if, because this won't happen if they play it correctly. They will stick together as a duo for the entire game. If they are together though, you can burst Sona really quickly at the very start of fights, and that is a good way of winning it. The longer the fight goes, the more chance they have to win it because of the aura spam and the sustain really. When it comes to champions, you can pick early game champions and stomp them in the lane phase, like a Lucian or a Nami lane, or Draven Janna would be good examples of where you can get a huge lead, or even a Blitzcrank to keep hooking the Sona. The thing is, this is kind of a big risk though. If you just end up farming, if you can't kill them, or you get ganked a lot and camped and stuff, they will hard outscale you. So what about if we just pick scaling against them, right? The other side of things instead of picking early game. You can do this as well. It's also a risk because nobody can really outscale Sona Taric, but at least you don't auto lose the game. The big issue with this is they're likely going to be stronger mid game. This is why Sona Taric are so good. They are really hard to shut down the lane phase, have a really good mid game team fight, and then only get stronger as the game goes on. The best way is genuinely to smash them early with something like a Blitzcrank, but if the game goes later, which it probably will do in solo queue, let's be honest, even when using the counter strats that I've listed here, it'll be a very hard game normally, and from my experience, just no fun at all to play. As with all of these strats, I think it is a good idea to quickly show you what I'm talking about as well. So I'm going to give you a game from Treats and Tactical and how they used it to win a challenger game that they honestly should have lost. The first thing I want to show you is kind of the lane phase, and this is basically how it works. Sona is going to poke. Taric is standing up there to try and protect the Sona because Sona is really easy to kill. But you can see if the Nunu doesn't turn up here, obviously they are baiting and playing for it. But if the Nunu didn't turn up and they got caught like that, normally they'd pretty much both be dead. Sona would have insta-died. She does have barrier though, and in this example, the Taric is taking heal as well. So it's a barrier heal lane. Helps him get through a little bit more. You can see though, the Rek'Sai dives in onto the Taric, but Taric is just basically too tanky with all the heals and the shields. That's kind of why it can be really hard to kill. But if you're going to punish this lane, you really want to do it like they did. It's just kind of unlucky that the Nunu crept through the lane, and normally that's not going to happen, and that is how you would shut them down. Next up is kind of a good example of like when they get level 6 basically. Like you're going to see them layer stuff together. They got the stun onto both of them really with the Taric and then obviously the Sona. Yes, other people are here, but this is really what you want to do at level 6. You can group up with your team and do it if you want to. Honestly, I think they actually had the 2v2 anyway because they could see them moving through the river, which is great, and Taric was able to get the double stun. Taric didn't even ult, but they absolutely blew those guys up, and they didn't really use the damage from other people. It was mostly honestly Sona, and this is why Sona with a bit of AP can do a ton of damage even early. I also kind of want to show you how not to do this. So they're starting a fight onto the GP. He obviously eats oranges, that's fine, but Taric doesn't have his ultimate right now, and Sona's going to get flanked by the Rek'Sai and absolutely destroyed. Like look how quickly she dies. Rek'Sai doesn't even have the ultimate either, and this is why I'm saying that you can burst the Sona down pretty quickly and beat them that way, because when Sona doesn't have the Taric ult on top of her, she's actually very, very easy to shut down. I want to show you a little bit later into the game. So this is only 19 minutes, and they're not doing too well at the moment. There's like an 8k or 7k gold lead for the enemy team, which in Challenger is absolutely huge right now. You see again that Sona gets focused. That's amazing. Leona ultimate, absolutely shred, even through barrier as well, that you kill her before the Taric ult comes down, and she's absolutely useless. This is also going to cost them their inhib, but even with that, like Taric's going to get shred afterwards. The main problem here is that they're not grouping with their team, or the team isn't grouping with them. They're not playing as 5 and using their strengths. But in a second, they're going to start, and that is really what I want to show, like kind of the turn of the game. So back alive now, Rek'Sai is going to pounce onto the Sona, but she's finally finished her Archangel Shield, which is going to help keep her alive. A huge ultimate there into the Nunu as well, and this is where the team fight really starts. So Taric is going to start pounding at the front. Taric really plays in front. Sona's just like slightly behind, buffing their entire team, just helping everybody else. And when they're around everyone like that, that is exactly what you want to happen, really. You want to like wombo your team fight, set them up together. That is the raw strength of Sona Taric, and that's kind of like the phase that is actually pretty busted in. Skipped a little bit forward again. They've just got Baron, and now they're running down the mid playing Aram, and this is what I said you kind of want to do with the strat. Just like basically play Aram, just 5v5 and try and fight as much as you can. They're using all their ultimates here, but Taric is going to come down, surround everybody here, and they can just run in, and there's nothing that you can really do. Sona at this point with the barrier, with their Archangel Shield, Rek'Sai is jumping in, used his full combo and ultimate, and hasn't been able to kill Sona. And this is kind of at that breakpoint now where Sona isn't squishy. She's very hard to shut down. Look at their health bars going up and down the entire time. Nice flash from Treats, even though he's going to actually die and get people killed, which is not the best. So they're still losing the fight a little bit. But the point is, like, see how, like, if he hadn't done that, they were healing back up constantly, drawing the fight out, and the longer the fight goes like this, the more chance they have to win. This just really shows that as well. So this is a big fight. It's a 5-5 again, which they want. He's actually bound over to the Nunu. Taric's used the ultimate right here. So the Taric ult is hitting Trin, hitting Nunu as well. They're both invulnerable. It hits both of them in the back line as well. They're all grouped up. It means that the Nunu and the Tryndamere can dive forward and just kill their backline because they can't take any damage. It's not just about keeping Taric and Sona alive. It's about helping the rest of your team kill everybody as well without taking any damage. So they've just won a massive team fight, and they're still all completely full health.
So a lot of you have been asking about my temporary setup. If you don't know what happened, basically I bought a house, first home, great, right? Except when I moved in, they told me I couldn't have internet anymore, which obviously for this kind of thing like YouTube and streaming is pretty bad. So I'm basically now have a temporary setup here, and then I made my videos here, and then I moved them over to my brother's house, Foxdrop's spare room over there, and I upload them from there. So I thought I'd show you my temporary setup. And a big shout out to MSI as well for giving me one of the laptops to be able to do most of my stuff actually. So this is pretty much what it looks like from like far away, I guess. You got 3 soundproofing panels on the walls. These are Mafia panels, by the way. I got them off eBay, but they are like legit the best soundproofing I've ever had ever. It's great. My mic, which is great, which is a Shure SM7B. 2 mics set up at the moment. So we have editing software there. And then normally that would be my editing preview, or like I'm dragging in stuff. It's really handy to have 2 monitors when you're doing like streaming or YouTube stuff. They got my normal setup stuff, my SteelSeries gear. And we got my laptop as well, which is the GS75 Stealth. This one that MSI gave me to use basically. And this is where I'll then stick my stuff on here. So I'll stick that, which I've rendered out on this PC, like made it and stuff here, and then put it on that. And I'm going to take that over to my brother's house and show you the other side.
So this is my brother's, and while I'm uploading here, I normally play a game or like practice Tool Honesty. I do want to say a massive thank you to MSI for hooking me up. This laptop is the GS75 Stealth. This one has an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Max-Q graphics card, although you can get the 2070 Max-Q and the 2060 as well. Obviously for me, I'm editing a lot, so CPU is really important, and it's got an Intel Coffee Lake i7-8750H that makes it so fast. You get 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM and SSD in here as well, so you can beast League, but you can play much more intensive games on here as well. This gives you an insight into my temporary and not ideal setup, but again, thank you to MSI so much helping me while I'm in this mess. Check out the GS75 Stealth down below. That's also going to wrap up the video. Let me know what you think of tagging this kind of like vloggy stuff on the end. I didn't really want to put it in another video, but I thought it kind of like tags on pretty well. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll be streaming right now if you want to come and check it out, but for now, I will leave you with robots.